السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير. قال الله تعالى في الكتاب العزيز بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. وقال يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. وقال يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. أما بعد. My respected brothers, before we begin the khutbah, it's from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ that we fill in the first rows first. So if we are sitting in the back, just to observe the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, let us fill in the first rows first, and as those that are coming in later, they can occupy the later spaces, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan. You know, from the beginning of Islam, from the time that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam was given the message of Tawheed, it has always been difficult to proclaim Islam. It has always been difficult to publicly announce faith, right? And it's not just today, and it won't just be tomorrow, it's in our history. And people look for Islam to share the blame when something isn't right. And when something is right, the credit won't come to Islam. Right, subhanAllah, within the last 12 days, America had another mass shooting. And those that are Islamophobes and those that are the true haters of Islam, without having any factual understanding, right? And I don't stand on the minbar to discuss politics, but to just connect a point home. That without truly understanding what had happened, someone had tweeted, and they said, Middle Eastern man, right? Suspected in nightclub shooting. Before any headline, on Twitter, this was a tweet going around by a very known Islamophobe, right? There's nothing that has even been made public, but immediately they try to throw Islam under the bus, right? The hate culture, the hate mongering, the fascism, the xenophobia, right? It's the very first intuition of the public nowadays. And for our children growing up, right, especially when they have to go to school and address the questions of their peers, right, or when the youth have to go to school and colleges, and these conversations are occurring over and over again on CNN, on MSNBC, on Fox News. And sometimes we as parents don't have the answers that our children need. We're not able to have those conversations at home and address what is happening on television, right? And naturally, a cause and effect begins to happen. Right? We ourselves feel blameworthy. Right? Is there something wrong with my Islam? Because it's the ultimate breeding ground for shaitan to come and do that waswas. Right? And our children begin to think, wow, Islam is the most hated thing on TV. It's the most hated thing on Twitter. It's the most hated thing on news media. It's what everybody in school talks about. But not because it's the cool thing to be. Because it's literally the most awful thing you can be a Muslim woman who wears the hijab in class when there's no other Muslim in school. Right? It's again, and it's subhanAllah, it's strange that we talk about this, but if you have a longer than usual beard that isn't fashionable, right? You're looked at in a weird way. You are given looks that are less than comfortable. And it makes you think, is there something wrong with the way that I look? So then you begin to ask yourself, why? Why am I doing that? Why do I have this beard? Why do I fold my pants up? Why do I choose to pray in public rather than go home? Why do I proclaim to do X, Y, and Z? And when it comes down to the core of it all, when you put the Islamophobia aside, when you put the negative rhetoric aside, and when you really confront yourself, it's because you and I love Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Nothing more, nothing less. Right? One of my teachers said that a man came up to him and he said he was a new convert to Islam. And he said, man, this man, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he's something else. He can get a grown man to wear mascara in public and go outside feeling like it's the best thing he's ever done. Because we know that it's from the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam that he would put on, right, upon his eyes. But you do these strange things in society today because you want to emulate the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we understand that the key to everlasting happiness is to be one with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But how do we become one with Allah? How do we attain that love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهُ يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهُ وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ وَاللَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. If you love Allah, if you claim to love God, then follow me. Who? Follow me, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Allah will love you and forgive you your faults, and Allah is forgiving and most merciful. قُلْ أَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولَ فَإِن تَوَلَّوْا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْكَافِرِينَ. And obey Allah and the Messenger. But if they turn back, then surely Allah does not love the unbelievers. Because in this climate, it's very easy to turn back. It's very easy right, to hide your Islam. It's very easy to not look Muslim, to change your name, to change your identity, to change the way you practice, to change the way you believe, to change the way you converse in public and with your family and with your children and how you bring them up. It's very easy to change. But my dear brothers and sisters, you know, the way that shaitan works is that he will never get you to disbelieve in Allah right away. Because you've been Muslim for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, some of you have been Muslim for 70 years. Right, what shaitan does is that he's perfected the art of disbelief. And he knows from the time of our father Adam alayhi salam, all the way till today, what are the weaknesses of man? Right, what are things that will make him falter in his faith? What will shake him up? What can I do? What instances, what moments of low faith can I come to him and whisper and take him away? And it's little by little by little. And he comes and he makes the haram seem less haram. Right? Those that are less permissible, he makes them appear permissible. And that which is permissible, he makes it appear difficult. Right? To the point where the haram becomes easily accessible and pleasing and satisfying. And the halal, right, it becomes dissatisfying and displeasurable. And we seek avenues that will satisfy the quench of our nafs, right? It will satisfy our hunger if we go away from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, which brings us right back to this ayah, right? That if you turn back, if you turn away from the Prophet ﷺ, you're turning away from Allah. But if you hold on to the Prophet ﷺ and his seerah and his sunnah, you will be from amongst those that are successful. Why do I begin this khutbah shedding light on the reality of Islam in America today? Because my dear brothers and sisters, when we study the history of our predecessors, those who walked this earth claiming to be Muslim just like we are, claiming to love Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, they too faced many, many struggles. And you know, one of my teachers says the claim to love is a very heavy one. To claim that you love someone, it's a very heavy claim. Because it not only requires the actions of the tongue, but it requires the service of the limbs. Right? And it requires the submission of the heart. During the time of the Meccan Islam, the Meccan period, when Muslims would embrace Islam, that was something that the Quraysh hated. They absolutely despised it. It was a means of defeat for them. It was a means of people turning away from the religion of their forefathers. It was the ultimate ridicule. So when someone did proclaim Islam and it was made public, they made sure to let people know that if you are from amongst those that is going to follow Muhammad ﷺ, we are going to make an example out of you so no one else ever even thinks about following Muhammad ﷺ. So they made it a point to let people know, we're not playing. You want to be Muslim? We're going to show you what we do to Muslims. There's a companion by the name of Zayd ibn Uthayna. Right, when he embraced Islam, Abu Sufyan and his thugs at the time, Abu Sufyan was not Muslim. They took him to the outskirts of Mecca. They took him to the outskirts of Haram because they wouldn't do things like that in the Haram. It's still a sanctuary. So they took him to the outskirts of the Haram and they essentially crucified him. As they would for a lot of the Muslims that they were going to make an example out of or they were going to massacre. Right, or make martyr. So they crucified Zayd and they cut his nose. And then they took out his eyes. They cut his limbs. And they severely mutilated his face. Enough to keep him alive. Right? So they've essentially crucified him. But he still breathes. And he's still bleeding to death. And he's mutilated. And his limbs are missing. And his nose is cut. I want you to visualize this. And Abu Sufyan goes to him. And he says to him, Unashidaka Allah. He says, I ask you by Allah, would you prefer to be home safe with your family and Muhammad be in your place? I mean, subhanAllah, when anything and everything happens to you and you're at the point of defeat and you've mentally been broken down and you've physically been broken down, you might as well just give up. And some people do. They say, well, perhaps, there's nothing left. So he thinks in the state of weakness, I've done everything that I possibly can. I've broken him down. And he says, would you rather be home safe with your family and Muhammad, the one that has brought you to this religion, be in your place? He looks at Abu Sufyan, directs himself at him, and he says, Ilayka anni Abu Sufyan, angrily. He says, get away from me. Get away from me. He says, I wouldn't want to be home safe with my family. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam even have his foot stuck by a thorn. Right? Stuck by a prick, a thorn, a needle. This is a man that has been mutilated. He's crucified. And he says, I wouldn't even want the Prophet ﷺ to feel the prick of a pain, right? From a needle. And you're talking about switching places? Get away from me. You must be crazy. Now, Abu Sufyan's reaction is one that is noted and commented on upon the scholars. At that moment, he says, Wallahi, ma ra'aytu ahadan yuhibbu ahadan kahubbi ashabi Muhammadin Muhammada. He says, Wallahi, I've never seen anybody love anybody like the companions of Muhammad love Muhammad. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He says, I've never seen anyone love someone like the companions of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam love him. And some of the scholars say that that is the day that a portion of faith entered the heart of Abu Sufyan. Because he saw the faith of the followers of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. My dear brothers and sisters, I narrate this story to myself first and foremost and to you because you too are living in the same toxic climate that I am. And you're raising children in the same climate that I one day will raise children. And these are not just stories of the past. These are lessons and reminders to strengthen us. Because just like the Prophet ﷺ was sent the Quran, right? And there were stories that were sent. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that they were the best of stories to strengthen your faith. When Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha passes away, right? When Abu Talib passes away, when Abu Muttalib passes away, when the Prophet ﷺ's mom and his dad pass away, he's comforted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala via the revelation of the Quran. Surah Yusuf, which is a narration of stories of people that came before, was to strengthen the Prophet ﷺ in his faith when it would seem that it was very difficult to hold on to faith. Right, the revelation of Surah Kahf, when people are questioning the Prophet ﷺ that you claim to be a prophet, then have your God talk to you and answer these questions for us. And then there's no response from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right, and he begins to question himself like, I need these answers, these people are asking me. Right, who were the sleepers of the cave? This was way before the time of the Prophet ﷺ. And so the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala empowers the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he tells him the stories of the past. That those people were tested as well and they survived. And you too will survive. Although I have withheld from you, only I am the one that can empower you. So rely upon me. We bring all of that back to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that if you want to love me, then follow that man. Because I love him. Habibullah. Right? That is the one whom I love. And if you want to love me, then love him and follow him. It's a full circle. You know, a man came to the Prophet ﷺ as he was sitting in a gathering. And he says, when is the hour? The Prophet ﷺ doesn't respond. The man asks then, he says, when is the hour? Right? So the Prophet ﷺ inquires and he says, who said that? Bring forth the one who is questioning. Right? And the Prophet ﷺ doesn't answer the question because the Prophet ﷺ doesn't know when the hour is. He says, what have you prepared for it? What have you prepared for the hour? You're asking when the day of judgment is. You want to know. What have you prepared for it? So he looks at the Prophet ﷺ and he says, I don't have much fasting and I don't have much prayer. I don't have much charity. وَلَكِنْ يُحِبُّ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ But I love Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That's all he came to the Prophet with. Right? He didn't brag about his salah. He didn't brag about his charity, his fasting. He's like, I don't really have much to show for it, but I love you. And I love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said to him, he didn't reject him. He didn't say, go back. Perfect your prayer and then come ask me this question. Go give charity. Go give everything you have in charity. Fast, 6, 7, 8 more years of Ramadan and then come ask me that question. The Prophet ﷺ, as beautiful as he is, he didn't reject him. Right? He says, أَنْتَ مَعَ مَنْ أَحَبَّبْتَ. Right? أَنْتَ مَعَ مَنْ أَحَبَّبْتَ. He says, you will be with the one whom you love. And it's narrated that the companions said that we weren't happier any other day besides the day we became Muslim than when we heard the Prophet ﷺ say that you will be with the one whom you love. And why was that such a day of happiness for the companions? Because they truly loved Prophet ﷺ. They would die for him and they would kill for him. They would sacrifice their families, their wealth, their children, their status in society, their homes, everything for him. Because they truly and wholeheartedly loved him and followed him. So when they received this news, right, this naba, this glad tiding, that in paradise they will be with the one whom they love, they're like, well, we know within our whole heart and with deep conviction that we love the Prophet ﷺ. And that was the way that the Prophet ﷺ was telling them that we will be together. Because that was love, my dear brothers and sisters. Love is not cheap. Love is not cheap. And we see through the actions and the sacrifices of our companions of the Prophet ﷺ that they worked their entire life to harness that love for the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam so they could be one with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and draw closer to him. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد رسول الله ثم أما بعد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran فَلَعَلَّكَ بَاخِعٌ نَفْسَكَ عَلَى آثَارِهِمْ إِن لَّمْ يُؤْمِنُوا بِهَذَا الْحَدِيثِ أَسَفًا. He says, and perhaps you would kill yourself through grief over them, O Muhammad, if they do not believe in this message out of sorrow. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing the state. Now let's focus on the other side. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the internal state of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam because he worried so much about people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God narrates in the Quran that he would worry so much about creation that you would think that he would go into this deep spiraling depression out of concern for people that are not even his relatives, strangers that he doesn't even know. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says you would kill yourself out of grief because of how much you worry about these people. And who are these people? We're part of that ummah. Right? That's the beautiful thing. That when we hear these narrations of the Prophet ﷺ standing and weeping till his beard was soaking, till his feet were swelling. You hear these narrations, right? It's not just about the people that are alive during that time. But it's about those that are going to come until the end of time because they are all the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Right? And we have not sent you, O Muhammad, except as a mercy to the worlds. My dear brothers and sisters, if this is not mercy, then what is? Crying over people that you've never even met, that you've never even seen. But you're so concerned about their faith and you're so concerned about their hereafter. You're so concerned about their relationship with their Creator that you lose sleep. That every single night you stand, you give up sleep and you sacrifice your comfort for those that you haven't even met yet. And you make dua for them. And then on the Day of Judgment when you meet them and they come to you, after all of the prophets that came before have rejected us. Because they can't help us. The one that hasn't even seen us will be interceding for us. Will be giving us water to drink from the Kawthar when we're thirsty from the thirst of the Day of Judgment. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us all from those who drink from the Kawthar. Ameen. Right? That's love. Right? It's this beautiful relationship that when you invest in it, you see the fruits of it. But in order to love the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it requires sacrifice. And it requires discomfort. And it requires dirty looks. And it requires being talked about. And it requires being looked at strangely. And it requires not fitting in. It requires challenging the status quo. And it's not because we want attention or we want to be different. Because the Prophet ﷺ says, Islam began as something strange, and it will return to being something strange. So give good news, give glad tidings to the strangers. This is a message to my young brothers and sisters, right? To my older generation, to my elders, my uncles and my aunties, my fathers and my mothers. You're going to feel strange and you're going to feel out of place. But now is the time to feel that way because we fall right into the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said, we are on the right path. So don't feel ashamed and don't feel shy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, there has certainly come to you a messenger from amongst yourselves. Grievous to him is what you suffer. He is concerned over you, and to the believers is kind and merciful. My dear brothers and sisters, Islam has been made easy because of the hardships that our predecessors have gone through. Return back to those stories and empower yourself when your faith is low, when you're feeling weak, when the pressure of society and when your faith begins to feel heavy. Return back to that which makes it light, which is the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the actions of the Prophet sallallahu, alayhi, wasallam. And as we begin this conversation, if you wish to love Allah, then love His Messenger and follow Him and obey Him. And Allah is the most merciful and the most forgiving. إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَمَلَائِكَتَهُ يُصَلُّونَ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا صَلُّوا عَلَيْهِ وَسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا برحمتك شر ما قضيت فإنك سبحانك تقضي بالحق ولا يقضى عليك ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا إننا آمنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وقنا عذاب النار اللهم اشف مرضانا وارحم موتانا اللهم اشف مرضانا وارحم موتانا اللهم اشف مرضانا وارحم موتانا اللهم بلغنا فيما يرضيك أعمالنا اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين وعذل الشرك والمشركين ودمر أعداءك أعداء الدين عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون أقيموا الصلاة